Hi, it's Mike Abernathy again, and last time we talked about kind of the three pillars of the super general dental practice. Basically, purpose-driven, doctor-led, and this is the third part, staff-owned. And I did this on purpose. I mean, I certainly could have maybe fit that into a short video, but I think it's probably the most important part of a super general dental practice. I would have to say, looking back on 45 years of dentistry, that the one thing that separated our practice from any other practice I've been in was our team, our staff, the people that stayed on an average of almost 15 years. We didn't have turnover. They made decisions in our practice that you wouldn't believe, and I'll explain that in just a minute. So staff ownership is real important. And then if we have time at the very end, I want to just briefly talk about coming back from a disaster and how you might hire your staff back and stuff like that. So let's talk about staff-owned practice, okay? Probably one of the key things to a super general dental practice. Now, ownership, I mean, let's kind of describe that too. I mean, if you're like me, I'm a little bit obsessive compulsive about things I own. Maybe some things more than others. I mean, gosh, when we had little kids, you just couldn't keep the house clean, but I always kept my car clean, it's like spotless. And I always kept my barn or garage clean, and organized, because I had control there. I don't have control inside the house with kids that are throwing stuff and eating stuff and breaking things up. But in a staff-owned business, again, I want the staff to act as if they own the practice. Probably about, gosh, it was years after I sold my main practice, and my wife gave parties for our staff at my house, and I was never invited, but I came home early one Friday after speaking, and again, what one of the staff members said kind of struck me. They said, after I sold that to my final partner, they said, when you were there, it was different. It was our practice. When you left, it just became all about the money, okay? And again, I think too many of us, in times when we struggle and money's tight, it's sometimes we come off as being focused, instead of our purpose serving our patients, and then motivating and incentivizing and leading our staff, they think we're only interested in the money. And so, again, real staff ownership is something that has to be practiced every day. Now, let me give an example of things that we did. I mean, if we hired a staff person, okay, now we had a bonus. I'd rather call it a profit sharing, but a deal where they would get thousands of dollars a piece every month. It became such a significant part of what they got paid, they acted as owners. So when we hired staff, knowing that staff person, it wasn't 90 days, that staff person we hired today would get a bonus check at the end of the month. So they knew if they didn't get get the right person and get them in the right seat and get them trained and onboarded properly, we'd never maintain that level of overhead that allowed us to share profits with them. And so they're very concerned about whether it was a doctor, whether it was a second, third office, whether it was just another staff person. If we're trying to keep our overhead at about 25% for staff, and I hired a staff person and paid them, I mean, the amount doesn't matter, but let's say it was $3,000 a month, then my expectation is within 30 to 60 days that our production or office would increase at least 4 times what we were paying them, which would allow us to keep that 25% overhead for staff. Okay, so involving the staff at this time, and keep in mind, our mindset is we've purchased a practice, it's new to us, it belonged to another doctor, we're looking at it that way, even though that's not the case. We're looking at it that way, and we're trying to look at the things that maybe could be done better, the things that could be value added, and the things that are done real well. We don't want to destroy that either. We want to look at the demographics and the patients and see how we can build on that so we have 10, 15, 20% growth every year forever and an overhead of somewhere south of 63%, okay? It'd be nice if it was between 50 and 60%, but again, average is 67 to 75%, and I've seen lot more than that. Okay, so all those things in mind, let's talk about staff ownership. Okay, one of the things that drives a staff-owned practice is a strong leader. And we talked about communication, stuff like that. But high communication is one of those things that whether it's staff to staff, staff to doctor, or doctor to staff is real important. Everybody in your practice learns and hears differently, okay? So everybody in the office needs to learn personality styles, personality traits, how to communicate. And again, communicating would be making sure that what you said is actually what they heard, and making sure what they heard, what you thought they said. I mean, what you thought you said. So keep in mind, while you're doing this, there should be a rapport in your office where everybody is treated and respected as an owner, okay? High communication. Alignment of vision. Now, when we talked about leadership, we talked about the number one job in leadership was defining reality of what's core in your practice, okay? And we kind of gave you examples of what was not core, okay? It is not fair to hire staff without the leader constantly reinforcing that vision and what's core in the practice, what the reality is. I mean, I think any staff person deserves the opportunity, since we're trying to get the right people on the right bus in the right seat, they deserve to know where that practice is going. And you're going to find some staff don't want to go there. That's the time to not hire, okay? The trouble with most people, they hire based on desperation. They hire too quickly and they dismiss too slowly, okay? So that alignment of vision is very, very, very important, but it has to be translated in word, deed, and modeled. Everybody has to do that. I thought it was interesting. I had a doctor ask me one time, because we're pretty anal about systems and protocols and stuff. He said, did you film like someone's job description? Okay? I mean, like how to do certain things. You film that, and because they would have been real excited. I mean, they were just like so excited that they would get to see a film. And I went, I was embarrassed. I went, well, no, I don't. And I'm kind of guessing that the way our culture is and how we serve our patients and how a lot of their pay is based on bonuses that are based on profit and productivity, that they probably, we try to onboard them well, and we have great job descriptions and we teach them how to do the job. But I think about halfway through the first day, they take them in the closet and say, look, you got about, 3 days to figure this out. I mean, I've talked to doctors that will tell me, said, yeah, I hired this assistant or this front desk about 8 months ago, and we've been working, training and everything. I just don't think she's going to get it. And I'm just, I try not to say this, but I'm sure it was written all over my face. I said, are you kidding me? It's like a Dr. Phil's moment, like, what were you thinking? I mean, like, if you have great culture, great job description, incredible policy manual, great leadership, staff that have that ownership mentality, they will demand from any new staff person that they get in step and get going. In fact, staff-owned practice will not tolerate mediocre staff. They'll make them leave. I only fired one person in 40 years. Certainly we had a staff leave, but since the staff had the final say, and I didn't mention that, they got the final vote on anybody that became a member of our team, including the doctors. And all the doctors that became associates, all of them became partners. And prior to that, I had maybe 15 associates. All of them failed. Within 2 years, they would all move on. The minute I started involving the staff in decisions in the practice, discussing it and coming to a consensus, and they voted, they never made a mistake. And it was incredible how good these doctors worked together, how well the staff worked together. Okay. Participative leadership. We talk about a doctor-led practice, but again, in a staff ownership mentality, this own practice, I showed them the profit and loss statements every month. We discussed major decisions. Our staff meetings weren't gripe and bitch sessions. They weren't drama, deals. They were there to make us work better. If there was a decision to make during the week, We didn't wait to a staff meeting. We took care of it right then. And so we had a hygienist, I won't want to say her name, but anyway, one of our hygienists, one of our top producing hygienists that did almost $50,000 a month, working 3 days a week and one Saturday. We had a staff meeting. Our staff meetings were the first thing in the morning. We alternated Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we only had one a month. And so it's going to fall on a day that you're off, but they had to be there for that hour. And she wasn't there. I asked my office manager, where is she? And she said, oh, she asked me 3 or 4 weeks ago if she could miss the meeting. Her daughter, she was a single parent. She wanted to go to a choir performance at the school on that particular day. And I said, well, didn't she miss one time before? And she goes, yeah, I think she did. Now we actually only had 11 staff meetings. The 12th was a Christmas party. And so I said, well, I just asked the staff, said, guys, look, I mean, it actually was a day I wasn't working too. It's like, I'm here when we do this, you have to be here for it. It's just not, this isn't cool. They went, well, and I said, I think we ought to fine you like $25. And they all started pulling out $25. They were going to give it to me and everybody's going to leave. And one of my hygienists, Vicky, goes, no. This isn't a staff meeting. This is a bonus meeting. He said, you don't show up for this meeting, you don't get a bonus that month. Now that meant $2,000 or $3,000 this person wouldn't get. And he said, if you miss it twice in the same year, you no longer have a job here. They all voted and went, yes. She never, ever missed that staff meeting again. Participated leadership. Shared responsibility. When I share the leadership and I share the numbers and they understand the business of dentistry, it's amazing. For the very first time in your entire life, you don't have to fear delegation. You've got people there that want these things more than you do when they understand the business of dentistry. The last point, shared responsibility, the last one is future focused. I constantly had to train staff and even doctors to think more than the next paycheck, the next month. And so we were very strong in our systems and protocols of doing goals and going through the process of helping them own the future of the practice. So that's staff-owned practice. Thank you very much.